Hey everyone, Taylor here with the Bonfire Briefing Podcast. Don't skip, this isn't an ad. I just wanted to let y'all know that Tommy Brown has actually been using Facebook as his primary way of relaying campaign updates and information. He's been using his Twitter feed more for Christian posts and news. There's still some good economic and cybersecurity information that he shares through Twitter, and I would highly recommend following him on both. His Twitter handle is at Tommy Brown III1, and his Facebook group is Tommy Brown III for Mayor 1776 Libertarian. Tommy wanted me to share this distinction with y'all and let y'all know that there is a difference between the two pages. So without further ado, hope you all enjoyed the episode. All right, there we go. Tommy Brown III, welcome back.
Hey, good to be here. I'm glad you got me back on. Just to be truthful, I tell you, it seems like every time we've tried it in the past, it's always been an issue. And this time, man, it just fell into place.
It did, yeah. Timing really worked out pretty well. We had discussed it, a couple weeks back, but this Friday was just a perfect time to do it. And man, it feels like ages since we talked last time. I actually had to go back and look it up. It was August of last year, last time we talked, and you were running for county commissioner back then, but now you're running for mayor of Salem, Indiana, hopping right back into the arena. I hope you at least got a little bit of rest between your last election and hopping back into this race. Just a little bit of rest anyway.
Well, yeah, I did, to be honest with you. You know, we took a little bit of time off after the commissioner race. Be honest with you and your listeners, that race did not go the way we wanted to. Everybody was dead set on sending a message to President Biden that, hey, we're Republicans, look at us. And I'm standing over here thinking, guys, you're in Washington County. It's 28,000 people. They got bigger fish to fry than worry about whether or not you straight ticket vote. So, you know, that was one thing. Now here we are, not 3 months after the commissioner race, and you know we're right back in it, hard and heavy. But it's like I was telling you off air. This race was not supposed to happen this early.
Yeah, and you're. Is there anything you learned from? I know you've run for public office quite a few times in the past, but is there anything you learned in particular from your previous race that you're looking to apply to this current campaign, maybe improve upon and make some changes? What were some of the takeaways you're looking to apply to this current campaign?
Well, one thing that we did learn is we have got a long way to go in getting people educated on the idea that you don't have to straight ticket vote to be a part of a party. You don't have to do that, especially at the local level. For your listeners that don't understand what I'm saying, is when people would go to the voting booth, they would pull a straight ticket Republican or straight ticket Democrat. Well, okay, that's fine if you've got nothing but state and federal races all on your ballot. But when you've got local races that affect you personally, I'm sorry, that does not call for a straight ticket vote, because all you are doing is basically rewarding bad behavior of current elected officials with brand new terms. And it basically tells them, oh, hey, we're going to vote the party line. We don't care. Not at the local level. If you want to hold a party line, you hold that party line at the state and federal levels. When it comes to local, odds are the people running, and what shenanigans they pulled while they were in office. Stop straight ticket voting at local levels. It's not worth it. And and honestly, it's not fair to the community.
I think you're 100% right, especially at the local level. Like you said, it matters so much more than just the, the D or the R or the L, the I they have next to their name. I mean, you're really looking at more of the individual themselves versus the party as a whole. Like you said, at the federal level, state level, fine, go ahead and do that. And, I actually listened to your podcast or your the episode you did with Liberty Dad, I believe his name was, on YouTube,
Yeah.
where you talked about your county commissioner race, and anyone who wants to hear more about your previous campaign would 100% recommend checking that out. Now, it seems to be my understanding from y'all's conversation on there that the straight ticket voting thing is like 100% up to the Secretary of State.
Yes, it is. The only way that will be removed in the state of Indiana is if our current Republican Secretary of State decides that, okay, it's outdated, it's time to move along. The problem is Indiana is a dinosaur. There's only about 8 states left in the republic that even do straight ticket voting. Personally, it needs to go away. It needs to be a federal mandate at the federal level. That's the only way I think it's going to truly end, is if the federal level decides, okay, we're done with this. No more straight ticket voting. Take it off your ballots. It's no longer an option. We vote for people. We don't vote for parties.
Oh yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I would love to see that happen. But now you're in 2023. You're running for mayor of Salem. Can you tell me a little bit about what caused you to want to jump into this race so quickly, and maybe a little bit about the incumbent mayor and why you want to run against him?
Well, I'm going to do that in reverse order. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Mayor Green and I actually went to school together here at Salem. Justin was a year behind me in school. We have always been fairly close friends. In a town of about a little over 6,000 people, you could say we've met.
Right.
When he, this kind of and like I told you when we was off air, this stems from a lot of things that have went on. The first thing that happened was during my commissioner race, they tried to pass a property maintenance ordinance where if it went through and they really got stickler about it, they could actually fine people for how much chip paint they had on their house. Well, the people in Salem rallied. I was right there with them. I stood with the people, and luckily, the people was able, with my help, was able to overturn that, and it got washed away. So that was strike one. Well, I went to him during the commissioner's race, and I'm like, look, Justin, I'm willing to step up, be a libertarian advocate, and give you a libertarian voice. That way you've got a voice in your corner that's saying, hey, look, don't do this. And he's like, all right, cool. I'd be glad to have you. So things went along. Next thing I know, I get wind that he's getting ready to take a bond loan for around $1.2, $1.3 million. And it is quote unquote for capital projects. Now, that being said, let me dig a little deeper onto that and inform you and your listeners that the city of Salem right now is about $26 million in debt. And that includes this bond loan that they just took about 3 months ago.
Golly.
$26 million in debt divided amongst 6,386 people is roughly about a little over $4,000 a person to pay it off completely.
That's just for the city, right? It's not the that's just the city, right? Like that's not the county. It's not anything. Yeah. It's just the city.
That's just the city. Oh, the county's
man.
like 17 or 18 million dollars in debt. So we've got debt in our up to our eyeballs around here.
Oh my goodness.
So I went to the city council meeting where they was going to vote on this, and I went forward and even got press time out of this. I told him, I was like, look, you've got a pending recession coming next year. Don't do this, Justin. It's not the right time. It's a bad time to take new debt. I was like, if you need more revenue money, grow your job base, grow your tax base, and you will be fine. Well, after we got done with public comments, he decided that not only was he going to patronize me, he was going to make it look like that I was spot on, but yet he was still going to do what he wanted to do. Well, they took this $1.2 million bond debt, and I left that meeting absolutely disgusted. I come home, I talked to my wife. I'm like, I'm done. I was like, you know what? He wants to do this. That's fine. We're going. She's like, all right. She's like, go ahead, run. I'm like, okay. So the county party held the convention in January. I was voted unanimous to run for mayor, and we went forward from there. But that bond loan right there was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm going to back up for a minute. In 2018, when the county decided they needed to build a new jail, here in Indiana, we have a lovely thing. It is in the state constitution. It is called circuit breaker. Basically, it hammers you on how much tax revenue you can actually gain. All right. So in 2018, our lovely mayor, he signed away the local income tax credits to the county.
Oh, wow.
Signed them away. And his comment in 2018 was, and I quote, "Oh, don't worry, we'll be fine. That's in the future."
Oh my! He's just kicking the can down the road on top of the debt that's already accumulated with 26 million.
There you go. It was on. Yeah, it's 26 million. Now you got to add 1.25 million on top of that, so you're actually pushing closer to like 28 million. So they sat in a city council meeting, and they're trying to figure out why circuit breaker hits Salem so hard. Well, guys, you basically gave away the one thing that counteracts that circuit breaker. It's your local income tax credits. Why? You shouldn't have done that. So, they take this 1.2, 1.3, whatever it was, $1 million bond loan, and it says it's for capital projects. Well, 3 weeks ago, right across the front page of the paper, do you know what? You want to guess what their first project is with this bond money?
I don't even know that I want to. I can't even imagine what they might spend it on.
I hope you're sitting down, and I hope you have a seatbelt on, because I'm getting ready to tell you. They are revamping and revitalizing our skateboard park here in Salem.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's I couldn't have guessed that. You're right. I definitely could not have even fathomed that's what they would use that money for. Don't
even try to figure that out. Because honestly, I haven't figured that out yet. Now if a capital project, because I looked this up, a capital project is any project that has an architect or an engineer overseeing it. I have yet to get an answer on who the architect or the engineer is that's over this project. So I think what they're doing is they took the bond loan, because on a bond loan, you don't have to have what you and I would consider a quality control checklist. You don't have that. The money's yours. You use it as you feel led to use it. Whereas with grant money, you actually have to write out what you're using it for. Okay?
Right.
So regardless of what Mayor Green tells the people, here's the brass tacks of all this. You're $26 million in the hole. You just added another $1.25 million onto that over, I think it's a 5-year period. So that pushes the debt ratio out to 2066. You've got a almost 65% chance of a looming recession coming that we don't know how bad this is going to be.
Right.
Everybody talks about the federal government defaulting on the national debt. I think it's time for people to look around and say, you know what? What about our local governments defaulting on their debt? Because if you keep up with the economics, I don't know if you do or not. I do, because I find it interesting. They're already saying today that the inflation is getting hot. That's not a good thing. It's bad. The Fed has already come out and said that there will be interest rate hikes through March, April, and May. So that's 3 months of interest rate hikes. Everything that I'm seeing, everything that I'm hearing is telling me within myself that bond loan was a grave error, because I really do believe that there is a chance they could default on this loan, or the whole debt, the whole 26 million. Because with inflation going up, with interest rates going up, this is just a bad time for this. And really, honestly, to you and your listeners, that right there in a nutshell is why I'm running for mayor, because evidently he doesn't feel like he needs to listen to me during a public meeting. Well, as my Facebook group cover photo says, can you hear me now?
And I think a lot more people are going to be listening now once they realize the dire situation they're in. I mean, are you getting that response from people on the ground, like when you lay this out for them, just how seriously bad this situation is with the city?
Yes and no. Some people are economically slanted, if that's the correct term. Some people, if you start talking economics, you're going to go right over their head because they don't grasp it.
Right.
What I have found works is to look at them and be like, okay, let's tackle this with a question. What happens if you miss a car payment? Well, it goes to collections. Okay. What happens if you default on the collections? They take my car. All right. Same thing with the city. They miss a payment. We're in trouble. We're in bad trouble, because odds are the state would take over the city of Salem. You don't want that. You never want the state to take over. And like I said previously, the threat of them defaulting, it increases just like the inflation percentage and the interest rates. It's all going to go up. Honestly, man, that's probably my biggest fear right now is a debt default at the city level. If it happens, I can tell you now it's going to be catastrophic.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, how, you're running for mayor, if you were to get elected in November, I mean, how would you even begin to tackle, the city's debt when it's, like you said, 26 plus the bond loan they took out? I mean, how do you even begin to start making progress on that issue? It just seems they're so far in the hole, and I can't imagine that they're gonna, cut spending, stop, to decrease their spending and try to rein it in any. I can't imagine that they're gonna do that anytime soon. They haven't done it in the past, obviously.
Well, my first obligation would be go to the county council and the county commissioners and try to get the local income tax credits restored.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big if I'm able to do that, the next thing I would probably do is urge the city council and get them to move to opt out of the bond loan, because the inner workings of that bond loan is you can stop that. I think it's in a 3-year period. Anytime in the first 3 years, you can actually stop that. That would be my next move, would be to stop that bond loan. And then we just, I guess, work on paying that down along with the rest of the debt. The other action that I would take is any what I would call feel good and play pretty projects would be removed off the table. We would not proceed down that road. The only projects that I personally as mayor would entertain would be infrastructure and just your normal everyday city services upgrades if we would need them. So, that's kind of my plan going in. The other thing that I would do immediately would be I would contact the local Chamber of Commerce. I would also contact our local economic growth partnership, and I would have them double down and triple down on the job arenas that they are targeting. They're actually targeting some really good job arenas. They're looking at anything with Department of Defense, and they're also looking at manufacturing. The defense jobs, with the way the world's going, are not going to go away anytime soon. And we are, I won't give specifics, but we are strategically located to where defense jobs are really viable for us. So, that kind of gives you an idea of what I would do to start. Once all of that got going, we would really probably have to batten down the hatches and, just do our basic day-to-day operation, cross our fingers and pray to the Lord that nothing catastrophic happens along the way, and hopefully getting the lit credits back after the first 2 years in office. Hopefully things would turn around to where, we could start looking at doing, some of those feel good and play pretty kind of projects if we had to. That's really the only thing I've got going forward that I can really hang my hat on here.
But it's so important too, man. Like you said, the worst consequence of all this would just be so devastating for the city there. And, I kind of want to shift a little bit here just so we can make sure to cover it. Because anyone that, is listening to this episode, listen to the last episode, or follows you on Twitter, which I would highly recommend, knows that, debt, infrastructure, the economy, I mean, that's your bread and butter. You talk about those all the time. They're all over your social media, but the other big one that's all over your social media. A big part of your campaign that we haven't talked about yet is cybersecurity. I feel like I've learned quite a bit just by following your page and reading some of the articles that you post on cybersecurity, because I'm definitely not an expert, and I feel like everybody needs to kind of take some responsibility and try to learn a little more about it. Just try to keep yourself safe, especially with how everything's online nowadays. Are there any are there any threats there, for the city of Salem, or you could even speak a little more broadly, nationwide, or whatever you want? Are there any big threats that you've been looking at that you want to help specifically the city of Salem prepare for?
Well, right off the bat, the two big ones are ransomware and extortionware. Here, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago, they had the worldwide ransomware attack on every server worldwide. Europe is still dealing with that, and it's still a problem. This is where not only at the governmental level, but, we've got to have a cybersecurity policy that not only protects you, but it educates you as we go. I am a big supporter of the idea and the concept of using blockchain technology for cybersecurity. I'm a big supporter of that because it is not a centralized system. It is a multifaceted, multi-person, multi-organization system that if they're going to bust it, they're going to have to take the whole system down and crash it before they can get anything. That's where I lean really heavy. And this goes for the city of Salem. It goes for the republic that we live in. It goes for the world. Once we start getting it to where people are not only protected, but they get educated as they are protected, then you're going to see a switch. And it's not going to be overnight. It's probably not even going to be within a month. It's going to take years, because I hate to say it, I'm bad about it too sometimes. You get lazy. And just when you think, okay, I'm fine, I'm cool, something snaps. And it's like, oh, well, why did I leave that up? Well, exactly the same reason that I do sometimes. You get lazy. We all do it. Life is going at 100 miles an hour. And, you're on your laptop, you're on your phone, you're on your iPad, and you don't close a window. Well, when the window's open, you're just inviting things in. So that's kind of, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I do believe there's something else brewing. I can't really describe it because I don't know what it is yet, but I feel like there's something else getting ready to drop. I can make a guess for your audience and for you, but like I said, there again, it's only a guess. My estimation of what's going on, there is a hacker group out there that is trying to pull one of the old Trojan horse computer viruses out. But instead of doing a normal Trojan horse, not only are they going to steal information, but I feel like this next threat, it's going to steal information and then it's going to shut whatever it infects down to where you can't restart it. That's my fear. Like I said, I don't know, and I may be off. I may be totally off on that, but that's just what I'm gathering. We've got a burgeoning crisis that could go nuclear at any time with Russia and Ukraine. They have been in a cyber war for some time. We as a republic, if people want to believe it or not, we've been in a cyber war since 2016. But it's not just China and Russia. And yeah, believe it or not, even Iran has the capability to send us back to the caveman days. It's the individual that you have to be aware of. It's the non-state actors that are carrying out their own agendas that you have to be aware of. Once I get into office, probably one, and I know I'm putting a lot on my plate for right off the bat, but it's got to be done. I would probably move to get some kind of a blockchain cybersecurity for the entire city of Salem. And that includes the school systems, the hospitals, the doctor's offices, the nursing homes, and all 6,000 citizens. It's a load, but believe me, it's worth it for the protection of not only us, but our kids and our grandkids.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's why, like you said, educating people on these issues is so important, because I feel like a lot of that stuff, a lot of people don't actively think about. It's not the sexiest political issue out there, and it's really easy to ignore. You like to think that you turn your phone off, you turn your computer off, or you just set it to the side and everything's all good and fine. But the truth is that just is not the case. There are people and groups of people, networks of people that are actively looking to attack you and steal your information, defraud you, steal your, whatever it is. We actually talked, when we talked last in August, you told me the figure, about ransomware, that the average ransomware attack cost like $640,000. And that is way higher than I think anyone would even guess. If you ask them, they might guess a couple $100, maybe a couple $1,000. But the truth is that your information is so vulnerable, and you have so much to lose by it just being out there unprotected and just being totally unaware of the risk that there is.
You're not wrong. One of the things that I have learned is the best form of cybersecurity that you can have ever is when you go to, and I tell you what, let's just use your local doctor's office for an example here. When you go to the doctor's office, before you step foot out of that doctor's office, look whoever is working that front desk straight in the face, and you ask them a series of questions, and it's all related to your information. The first one needs to be, do you guys sell information or give information out to other people? Well, if the answer is no, okay, you're on solid ground so far. The second question you need to ask is, can I have a hard copy of my interaction today to add to my medical record? Everybody in America needs to start formulating a hard paper copy of their medical records. I know that sounds absurd. I know it sounds crazy, but with the violations that are going on right now with HIPAA, hospitals are being attacked, doctors' offices are being attacked. You need to have a hard copy of your medical records. You don't have to go back and get them all. But if you start this year, and every time you go to the doctor, every time you go to the hospital, they'll do it for you. They may get aggravated at you. Ask them for a hard copy of everything they've done and tell them straight up, I'm keeping my own medical records to back up what you guys have. I want it in my possession. That is probably the one thing we can do that will kind of curb it, because if something pops up and you get a bill for something that you didn't do, you can prove you didn't do it because you've got the paperwork from that doctor's office.
Right. And you need that information to be available somewhere other than their system that they have. You need it for your record so that you can present it as evidence for your case.
Exactly. And, and I know that sounds like a big pain. And believe me, I'm doing it myself. It is a pain. But when you look at the big picture and you say, okay, they could get taken out at any time. I need my medical records on hand. That even includes the drugstore. If they give you a receipt and they've got your medication tag on your bag, before you leave, ask them very nicely if they would print you a med list. And do that if you get your prescriptions every 3 months. Update the med list in your medical records every 3 months, because the pharmacy can be taken offline just as easy as the doctor's office.
You're so right. It's really good information for people to have. And I mean, these are very, very doable steps that people could take to just have that extra layer of security. We're actually running a little low on time here. We've got about 3 minutes left or so. I wanted to give you these last couple of minutes to just kind of, plug your different social medias, a website, anything you've got. I mean, where can people find out more about you and learn more about these issues?
Well, the Twitter, like you said, is always a great place. The Twitter feed has changed quite a bit. I won't go into why, but it has changed for personal reasons. The campaign is pretty much based on Facebook. It is a public group. Everybody's welcome. It's simply just Tommy Brown III for Mayor 1776. We decided to take that 1776 mentality and march forward with it. So to close, I want to thank you for having me on again. I want to thank your listeners. I've actually picked up a lot of support from this podcast, and I really appreciate that. And again, I thank you for having me on again tonight.
I'm glad to hear that my listeners have been supporting you, man. I'm a big fan of yours. I followed the county commissioner race, and I'm going to be right there with you through the end of this mayoral race. And I am going to have you back on before November. I know I failed to do that last election cycle, but this cycle, it's going to happen. I will have you on before Election Day for a third time. The election it's November 8th-ish, somewhere around there, right?
Yes, sir. It'll be November 8th.
All right. And if you're game, I promise you I will have you on one more time before then, just so that I can continue to play a small part and help out in any way that I can, man. I love having you on the show. It's always a lot of fun to talk to you, and I greatly appreciate you coming back on.
Not a problem. Anytime, brother. Let's we be glad to come back.
I appreciate it, brother. You have a good one.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yep.